Welcome back, everybody. Another episode of Fat City Spinout, my series of recent finds, listens from the collection. Bringing us in right now, a bit of Canadian reggae by way of Montreal, Canada. In dubwise. This is from 1988, band called Cali and Dub Inc., Uncensored Reggae, 5-track EP, privately pressed on the Boom Shot label, 1988. We're hearing Crucial Dub, version of Crucial Rock. This is from a small collection of reggae records I happened across a local antique mall just down the road from me quite some years ago. Walked in for a browse one day and they had some reggae records there. I remember Dennis Brown's Deep Brown LP was there the same day. Many more had already gone, unfortunately, by the time I got there, as the cashier told me, but I grabbed what I could. This is one I'd never heard of, looked interesting, obviously reggae. Cali and Dub Inc. was a Montreal band formed around Hayes Cali Thurton, who was actually originally from Trinidad. Came to Canada in the early 1970s. Attended college at the University of Toronto. Got involved in music and also in the social and political aspects of reggae at the time. Discovered Rastafari. And began performing musically in the late 1970s. By the early 1980s, he moved to Montreal, went through a series of bands, had one called Sila, and then moved on to multiracial organizations like Dub Trio, Dub Plus 5, before forming Cali and Dub Inc. in 1986, releasing a couple of cassettes and then this EP. And the recent find aspects of this is I found the follow-up to this EP just the other day in my last shopping trip into the city. Cali and Dub Inc. Human Rights LP from 1989. Private press, Boom Shot Music. Full-length LP, incorporates some different styles. This EP is mainly roots reggae and dub, a bit of dub poetry even on here in the song Home Living, and it's kind of a steel pulse sound on some of the tracks. This LP incorporates some hip-hop, calypso even. Good, maybe not quite as strong as this EP, but found this in the cheap bins. Very unusual to see out here on the West Coast, so thought I would grab this. Cali and Dub Inc. They recorded a couple more albums in the 1990s. He was nominated for a Juno in the mid-1990s. He's quite highly educated, I think. He's gone to college at Concordia University. I see on Facebook he's also a visual artist. Still around, still apparently performing with Cali and Dub Inc. live, though they don't seem to have released any new recordings for many years now. Welcome back, everybody, as we get into a bit of jazz on a rainy Sunday morning. Those two things always seem to go well together, jazz, Sunday mornings, especially when the weather outside is not great. As you may or may not have seen in previous clips, I've been keeping up with some of the Black Jazz label reissues from the early 1970s that Real Gone Music has been putting out. Today I'm going to share one with you, Henry Franklin, The Skipper, maybe one of my favorites that they put out so far. Originally released 1972. Henry Franklin was a bass player, had played with Willie Bobo, Archie Shepp, and others, but was maybe best known for playing on Hugh Masekela's big hit, Grazing in the Grass. There he is pictured on the cover of the Promise of a Future LP. Henry Franklin, bass. Also backed Hugh Masekela up on stage at Monterey Pop Festival in 1967. And this debut album of his as a band leader has quite a cinematic, widescreen feeling. It's like a score to a movie playing out as you listen. This is one of the longer, more exploratory pieces, setting a scene, setting a mood. 12 minutes long. This is called Beauty in the Tub. Kicks off side 2 with a bit of a surprise after this reflective opening flourish. That drum break, adding a roiling sense of tension, a martial rhythm. This is a clear with black spatter pressing from Real Gone Music. Been trying to grab these when I can. They seem to sell out pretty quickly, and then even the standard black edition goes quickly. Again, very cinematic feeling throughout this. The opening track, Outbreak, has Henry Franklin. He's switching between acoustic stand-up bass and electric bass on this album, kind of steering a steady course as the band sometimes kicks up these choppy waters. Like a captain with his hand on the wheel of the ship. Outbreak, 10-minute long track, has almost a feel like you're looking through the lens of a camera at a scene perhaps of bustling city life, people coming and go, maybe speeded up, and a furious kind of rhythm going on underneath while these horns float over top, kind of like ships skating across the choppy waters, maybe slowing down mid-tempo, mid-track as the camera comes into a closer focus of its subject. But basically a benevolent feeling of everyday life going on, this scene perhaps of the city, people coming and going, but basically a feeling of positivity going on in that track. Plastic Creek Stomp, bit of a shorter interstitial track, and Theme for JoJo, which closes out side 1. Again, sounds very much like a character sketch of a movie, could be playing while a certain character's being introduced. That track I just played, Beauty and the Electric Tub, kicks off side 2 with that bit of a surprise, that about face and 180-degree turn in tempo that goes on. And the last 2 tracks, Little Miss Laurie and The Skipper, his nickname, which titles the album. The Skipper in particular maybe sounding like it could be playing in the opening credits of a movie. So very cinematic feeling going on throughout this LP, and a lovely pressing from Real Gone Music, which has been reissuing this black jazz catalog over the last little while, couple of titles at a time. Another fairly recent pickup, reissue from the Real Gone Music label. Been picking up a few of these recently. Say what? As we tune into the voice of the man called Errol Dunkley. His debut LP from 1972, Darling Ooh, as released in the UK. had a slightly different format on release in Jamaica. Different cover art. Sometimes appears as presenting Errol Dunkley. As he says, "You're gonna need me when I'm gone." This pressing from very recently on the Real Gone Music label on what they call root beer colored vinyl. Not flavored. No drinking the vinyl. Errol Dunkley, one of those journeyman Jamaican singers who is probably totally unknown outside the field, yet within reggae, his records can be quite sought after, quite difficult to come by in vintage pressings, at least in fairly decent condition. So I was pretty happy to snag this one, recent reissue from the Real Gone Music label, a label I got onto through their Black Jazz series, since led me on to the odd piece from other genres. Errol Dunkley was one of the child stars of Jamaica, where they would start singing very young. He was about 11 years old when he first began performing. Recorded his first sides for Prince Buster before moving on to Joe Gibbs, Studio One, and others. But these guys, while they would be having hits, it was a producer-driven market music industry at the time, where the producer is basically the record label. They hold all the strings. The singers would be having the hits. The producers would be reaping all the rewards. And Errol Dunkley found himself in this position. To gain more artistic freedom, more reward for his work, he co-founded the African Museum label with Gregory Isaacs in the early 1970s, was also rubbing shoulders with Dennis Brown, another up-and-coming, very young singer at Studio One. As the early 70s dawned, Errol Dunkley found himself at hitting a fever pitch of creativity with classic songs like Movie Star, the rhythm of which has been versioned many times over, created by the father, also done by Dennis Brown, and A Little Way Different, the first version, one of Errol Dunkley's signature songs, reportedly aimed at fellow teenage singer Dennis Brown. The two would often be compared back and forth. The song goes, "Every man do his thing a little way different." He's asserting his individuality there. And that song, he would recut it later in the 1970s in the UK for Dennis Bovell, where it would be quite a sizable hit for him. He would also have a very big hit with OK Fred, covering John Holt. But his debut album, released by female producer Sonia Pottinger in 1972 in Jamaica, slightly altered form in the UK when it appeared with this cover art, and added a couple of instrumental tracks for unknown reasons. But debut album by Errol Dunkley launched his career, which is carried on for many years, still active as of this recording. Nice to have that in the collection. One more for today. Had this out for a spin again recently. Probably showed it a while back when I first picked it up. Tune called Babylon by a 70s soul group called Sounds of the City Experience. It's a 2013 reissue on Jazzman Records. Originally came out in 1976 on Morris Levy's Tiger Lily Records label. Morris Levy of Roulette Records set up Tiger Lily Records as a tax loss label. Was looking for material to release, contacted Mario Sprouse, leader of the Sounds of the City Experience. LP was never designed to sell, was designed to be written off as a tax loss, dead stock, thrown in the garbage. Extremely rare album nowadays, never even sold on Discogs, I don't think, until Jazzman Records put it out again. Mix of soul ballads, a couple of blaxploitation style funk instrumentals. Side 2, as we hear here, kind of in a show tune, stage musical, very politically overtoned style. It's because these songs were written for an Oscar Brown Jr. stage show. Mario Sprouse kind of culling together some previously recorded material by the group, so a bit of a range of styles and years. The LP released 1976. The group actually dated back to the early 60s. Called it a day shortly after this one LP. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Watch out for the next Fat City Spinout. Thanks everyone who's been tuning into my series on Lee Scratch Perry. More episodes of that coming as well. Take care.